Hello everyone and welcome back to the second episode of McHenry Connected. We all know and love Hidden Pearl, the coffee shop that has recently made its return here at MCHS. And today I get the pleasure of talking with one of its owners, Dan Kernes. Thanks for being here, Dan.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
So before Hidden Pearl was even at McHenry, how did you start? How did it open?
So it's kind of a long story, so I'll tell the shortest version I can. I have a very good friend who lives in Germany, and she wanted to come live in America, and her boyfriend wouldn't marry her, and so we learned that if she started a business here, that she could come on a business visa. So I helped her get the business visa, and she always wanted to open a coffee shop, so we decided to help her open up this coffee shop. And so then, after we opened up the coffee shop, I was going to help her get it going, and then it was going to be her shop, and that was it. Mm-hmm. But after I did it for 2 days, I knew that I wanted to do it, full time with her. And then, as it turns out, when you have a visa, you have to go back to Germany, or she's from Germany, so you have to go back to Germany and then re-up your visa, every 3 years or 5 years, depending on the visa. And when she went back the first time, she wound up meeting the man of her dreams. And so she came back just for a little time and then wound up being just my coffee shop.
Okay, wow, that's actually really interesting. I was not expecting that whole story. Wow. You think just someone's just oh, I want to open a coffee shop. That is an interesting story.
Yeah. No, I had no idea. And then once we started, of course, now it is what it is. And, I love it. I mean, I can't think of doing anything else at this point.
So are you the only owner right now? Is it just
no,
you?
So when we moved, in the old shop, I don't know if you know, there was an old shop.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the old shop, it was just me as the owner. And then when we moved down to the new place, which is significantly bigger, I had, for varied reasons, we had to take on more partners. So I have 4 partners total now. And, it's just a different animal, but
yeah.
But we're happy to be back here.
So, if I'm not mistaken, Hidden Pearl was at McHenry once before. So, what was the build up to being at McHenry the first time?
So when we weren't even open at the new place, and McHenry had reached out to us and other places too. I don't know all of them, but there were 5 places that they said, they wanted to have coffee for you guys. Mm-hmm. So. Alta, who's one of my partners, who's working downstairs most of the time making the drinks, she and I came here for an interview, and we had our proposal, and we really didn't think that we were going to get picked because, at that time we weren't even open, and, it's there were other shops that I think they had talked to, I don't know even, I thought they talked to Panera and stuff. But anyway, so we didn't think we were going to get picked. So when we got picked, we really, again, we didn't have a shop yet. So we started here, and we brought in all our equipment here and did the best we could that first year. Mm-hmm. But without the shop, it was actually really, really hard.
Yeah.
But that's what we did.
Yeah, I was going to say, because watching, I was always thinking oh, you have all this stuff, espresso machines and, all the stuff you guys use. I'm how are they going to put that all in that little concession stand? But it still tastes so good. I love it. And being on Green Street, I feel like Green Street's just really the heart of McHenry. I really think it is. Because I live next, really close to Green Street, and, I go there all the time, get coffee. So being on Green Street just really makes you, part of McHenry, is my opinion.
Well, thanks for saying that. I think, too, and this, a little vain, but accurate, when we came to Green Street the first time, because we weren't even going to be in McHenry. The only reason we're in McHenry, I live in McHenry and I love McHenry, and I've done a lot, I've been in McHenry a long time. The only reason that we wound up being in McHenry was because my first partner from Germany was really scared that it wasn't going to work. Mm-hmm. And so we had just decided at that time, because Green Street was empty when we first opened. I think there was just Black Orchid, Carol, she's great, and there was the Thai food place, right? The skate shop was closing, so that building was empty. The 3 units in where the Taekwondo places, that was empty. And even where Carol is now, Black Orchid, that was empty. And so everything was empty, and the theater was basically starting to go out of business. Yeah. In fact, when we first opened, they put the foreclosure signs on their windows while we were still in business. So when we started on Green Street, the whole thought was that the rent was going to be low, which it was at that time, which it's probably not anymore, and that if we failed, we'd fail small.
Yeah.
So that's why we're in McHenry. And then as it turns out, McHenry, because McHenry had like 7 coffee shops before us.
Yeah.
And they all went out of business, every single one of them. So, in my head, I was like, well, this is kind of, but we just figured it would work or it didn't. And then it wound up working. It worked from the very first day.
Yeah. So what's the difference between like balancing between the actual shop and being here at McHenry? Like what was like, especially the return and like COVID and everything? Like what was the process with all that?
Yeah, so it in a weird way worked out because when we stopped here, so the shop wasn't open yet.
Yeah.
We were here, and then we stopped here for the summer or whatever, and
Yeah.
then we were about to come back because the first half of the year, for whatever reason, we were open and they didn't want us to come back yet, and so it was fine. And then right when we were getting ready to come back again is when COVID hit.
Right. Yeah.
So so then we got to focus on the shop, which we needed because we'd only opened that building like 2 months before coronavirus hit.
Yeah.
So we focused on the shop solely, which worked out good. And then this didn't happen, for another year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
So by that time, we sort of had everything worked out. So it worked out okay in a weird way. But and now we're back here.
So what type of things goes on in your shop? Do you guys have like special events? Like I know when I drive by, I see like posters on the windows and like do you have that like a little separate room almost? So like what
Right.
goes on in like that area?
Okay, so that's actually going to wind up being our smaller stage. We actually have room in back to make a bigger stage. We have we're using only about 2/3 of the building right now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's more that's coming. But as if anybody's going to be able to keep track of all this. So Wednesday night is bingo. That's every Wednesday's bingo, and believe it or not, the place is packed. Like last night, it was just full. It was just full of people. Thursday night, we do an open mic comedy every week. Okay? Friday, so the second Friday is open mic for anybody.
Mm.
The third Friday is poetry night. And then, and then the fourth Friday we do like a regular comedy show with like 3 stand-up comedians, and that's a paid show. So that's what we do. And then also the third, I see this is confusing for me, also the third Saturday we do an improv show. There's an improv troupe that used to work in Woodstock that now does our place. And then the rest of the dates I fill in with other stuff.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to add because we have a game night on Tuesday, and we're hoping to add karaoke night, and then the rest of the stuff we kind of fill in with music. So I have some, bands and 2-piece people coming in soon.
Yeah. That's really cool though. Like I feel like going to a little coffee shop and having that stuff there, it's just so fun. Like when you go to a normal coffee shop, it feels like you just, have your coffee and your little muffin or whatever you have.
Muffin.
So, what are your biggest hopes for Hidden Pearl here at McHenry and your shop, just like all together?
So I'll start with this place. So the thing about being here is actually we love the Warrior Buddy stuff. So they come down on Fridays. It used to be every day, but it makes more sense as just Fridays. So teachers get coffee on Fridays. And so they come down and they, take all the drinks and then they deliver them to the teachers and then they bring the money back. Mm-hmm. Well, when that first started, because part of our whole thing was that we were going to raise money for them. I mean, that's what we do. So a portion of every drink goes to Warrior Buddies, which is great because they don't have a lot of fundraisers, right? Mm-hmm. So the first time we did that, and they came down and we got to meet these amazing kids. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're all so happy and so wonderful, and just they have such these great views on life. And you think to yourself, gosh, if only everybody could have that wonderful view on life, right?
Yeah.
And so the best part of this is that, not that the students aren't great. I mean, it's good to see you guys too every morning. Yeah. But the truth is that cause and that is why we do it, and that's the most rewarding part about here. So hopefully we just continue to do that. Mm-hmm. For the shop itself, coronavirus obviously set us back really, really far. We don't talk about a whole lot, but because of when we opened, we didn't qualify for any of the second or third round of PPP loans. So we've just had to struggle our way through it, mm-hmm. which means, it ate up all our reserves, it ate up, more construction money that we were going to use for the back. So we're just trying to finish, that we just want to finish this project, mm-hmm. and then sort of turn it over to the community and see what they do with it.
So speaking of Warrior Buddies, so did you, from the start coming here at McHenry, did you want to do Warrior Buddies, or was it something that you're like, oh, once you were here at McHenry, you're like, I want to help them out?
I will give credit to Mr. Iserman. So he wanted us to do fundraising for something, and then they picked what we were going to do fundraising for. It just worked out with Warrior Buddies because they were going to deliver the coffee, so it made sense. It was like a perfect connection. But it was, and not just him. There was other people in the front office that helped too. But most of it was all of them. And then but once we got into it, then we just immediately
just like amazing.
Just loved it.
Okay, so what is your favorite thing about owning Hidden Pearl or co-owning?
Nothing. I wish I was an employee. No, I'm just kidding. I think, again, I've been really lucky. I think the city of McHenry, not the city necessarily, we'll say the people of McHenry. The people of McHenry have really made it so that we keep going. There's times when I don't think we're going to keep going sometimes, or especially when we're trying to get open or during the pandemic. And then somebody from the community will do something and it'll make me remember why we do all of it in the first place, right? So for an example, while we were building the place, there would be people that would text me a picture of their Starbucks cup or their Dunkin' Donuts cup, and they would say something like, "I hate you, please open soon," or "Please, please, please open." And so those little things that like people don't realize that kept us going. There were times where it was just like, well, how do we not take care of this person? And so the same thing's true. And then during the pandemic, people would come in and they'd be like, "How you guys doing?" And we're like, "Well, we're struggling, but we're doing okay." And so, just that little bit of community support goes a long way. Yeah.
And then being part, I know we kind of touched a bit on this already, but being part of the McHenry community, like what's it really like being a big business in, in the McHenry community?
Well, it's interesting because, again, we just talked about it, how we're a town that's really a city. I think we're starting to become a city. Like even what I've seen, we're more diverse of a place than we were 10 years ago. So we get to see more shapes and sizes and colors of people. It's interesting to be part of watching, again, the city grow up. Green Street grow up. It's been fun watching that. So I guess I would say it's just been part of the community. Has been fun watching the community actually develop.
Yeah. And so is there anything else you want to add, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I think that, this is a great interview. Thank you. I want to thank you guys, thank the school, thank everybody. And that's about it. I'll go back and make more coffee now.
Right. Well, one quick question. What's your favorite drink that you
yeah, that's good.
Well, that's a great question on two levels. So the thing is, when I first started the coffee shop, of course, my favorite drink is actually cortado, to answer your question quickly, which is basically a European cappuccino. So here in America, we really make adult milkshakes, right?
Yeah.
So there's like, maybe 1.5 inches of espresso. Then there's probably, the rest is like milk and caramel, and it makes a giant milkshake. But in Europe, they don't drink coffee like that. So a European cappuccino would be like 2 ounces of espresso, 2 ounces of foam, and 2 ounces of milk. It's a nice, equal, balanced drink. And it comes in a little cup. It's not like these giant sizes we get. It just comes in a little cup. But it's really, really tasty. And if it's made with really good espresso, it's even more tasty. It's great. Amazing. However, that being said, because I'm a barista, the odds of me being able to make one of those and sit down and drink it and enjoy it is 0. So I started drinking iced coffee, not because I was a big fan of iced coffee, but because I can have this, and if somebody came in, or this interview, I can put it down and I can come back to it and drink it. So I drink iced coffee all year round now. But when I have a moment, I'll have a cortado.
Yeah, I love iced coffee so much. I'll have to try this cortado thing. Like, it sounds like the way you put it, adult milkshake, like that's like actually a really good like description for it. Because when you think about it, coffee and then you just like throw this sugar and stuff in it.
Right.
So yeah.
And
I'll have to try that.
Another point, like I want to bring up is like I'm not a coffee drinker. Like I don't drink coffee at all, but I love the lemonades. Like you're like different flavors, like is it the mango? Yeah.
The mango.
That one is amazing.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. Make, like iced tea. Like my second go-to is definitely flavored iced tea.
Yeah.
Like if I'm like, my mom isn't like a huge person on me drinking coffee. Like she'll let me have it, but she's like, it shouldn't be your go-to drink. And I'm like, okay, iced tea.
and we have 3 iced teas that we have every day. I will say that here's something I did want to add, because most people don't know this, because we don't really advertise. But if somebody comes in, let's say, and they order a caramel macchiato, okay, obviously I know where they're coming from, right? I don't have to ask questions because that drink is specific to a chain, right? It could be Dunkin' too, but typically it's that chain. And I'll make them one. We don't say anything. We just make it the way we make it and call it a day. But what most people don't realize is because our coffee is a little smoother and because of the way we stretch the milk, when you hand stretch the milk versus a machine doing it, it's sweeter. Because for whatever reason, the sugars in the milk break apart when you can get the wand on the surface. I know it's a long technical thing. But anyway, the point is I use half the sugar. Yeah. When you get a caramel macchiato from our shop, it's actually less calories for those who are counting because there's actually less sugar. Or just healthier in general because there's less sugar. So like certain places, there'll be like 8 sugars in it. I won't say where. It doesn't matter. But, we don't have to do that because we're not trying to mask any coffee. Yeah. We're just, we're enhancing the coffee. Yeah. So it's good to know.
Yeah. I was going to say, I love getting, especially Hidden Pearls coffee shop coffee. It's just so good. All right. Well, I think that is it. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you. I appreciate the time.
Thank you to the listeners. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.